Here's the problem with fraud on instant payment rails. By the time your check finishes running, the money has already left the building. FedNow, RTP, UK faster payments, they settle in seconds. Your fraud program was built for a world where you had hours. So let me give you the framework. 3 things you need to score a payment in the time it takes to settle. Let me start with why this is even a conversation. For most of banking history, a payment gave you time. A wire, an ACH batch, a card transaction with a settlement window. Somewhere in that gap, you could hold a suspicious payment, route it to an analyst, make a call in the morning. The clock was your friend. Instant rails removed the clock. FedNow in the US, the RTP network, faster payments in the UK, which has run on this model since 2008. On all of them, the payment initiates and settles in seconds, and once it settles, it's final. There's no pulling it back, no overnight review, no morning call. So the question stops being how do we investigate a suspicious payment, it becomes how do we decide inside a few hundred milliseconds before the money is irreversibly gone. That's a different job. And most teams are still trying to do the old job faster. That doesn't work. You can't outrun settlement with a batch process. You have to move the decision to the front, to the moment of payment itself. 3 things make that possible. Let's go through them. The first thing you need is a behavioral baseline for every customer, and you need it built before the payment ever arrives. Here's why this comes first. When a payment hits your system in real time, you have no time to figure out who this customer is. That research has to already be done. Normal for this account has to be a known quantity sitting there ready. What does a baseline actually hold? The customer's usual payment sizes, who they normally pay and how often, what times of day they transact, the devices they use, the rhythm of their account. None of this is exotic. It's the pattern of a real person living a real financial life. Now the payment arrives, and instead of asking, is this payment fraudulent, which is almost impossible to answer cold, you ask a much sharper question. Is this payment normal for this person? That's a question you can answer fast because you already did the hard part. A customer who pays the same handful of payees every month suddenly sends the largest payment of their life to a brand new account at 2 in the morning. You don't need to know it's fraud to know it's off. The baseline turns a payment you've never seen into a payment you can compare. This is also, by the way, where a lot of real-time programs quietly fail. They score the transaction in isolation. Amount, currency, beneficiary, a few rules. No sense of who the customer is. So a $5,000 payment looks the same whether it came from a customer who moves that much every week or a customer who has never sent more than 300. Same score. One is fine, one is a family losing their savings to a scam. Richer payment data helps here. The move to ISO 20022 across these rails means payment messages carry more structured detail than the old formats did. More context on the parties, the purpose, the reference. If your baseline can read that, your is this normal question gets sharper still. No baseline, no real-time fraud program. Everything else sits on top of this. The second thing you need is signals gathered at the moment of payment, live, not reconstructed the next day from logs. The baseline tells you what's normal. The moment of payment signals tell you what's happening right now in this session on this device with this beneficiary. Put the two together and you have a real decision. 4 categories carry most of the weight. Device intelligence. Is this the phone the customer always uses or a device you've never seen? Is there anything about the session that says the customer isn't really in control of it? A payment from a familiar device that the customer has used for years is a very different risk than the same payment from a device that appeared 10 minutes ago. Velocity. How many payments, how fast? A single payment tells you little. 5 payments to 5 new beneficiaries in 90 seconds tells you a lot. Fraud has a tempo, and it usually doesn't look like a person paying their bills. Beneficiary and counterparty risk. Where is this money actually going? A brand new payee, an account with no history, an account that other institutions have already flagged. This is where shared signals matter. Consortium and industry data, where banks contribute red flags about mule accounts and known bad beneficiaries, let you see risk that never appears inside your own four walls. A beneficiary that looks clean to you might already be lit up across the industry. You only get that view if you're plugged into it. Session behavior. How is the customer acting inside this session? Are they moving the way they normally do, or does the interaction look coached, rushed, unusual? A lot of the worst payment fraud today, authorized push payment scams, involves the real customer pushing the payment themselves under pressure from a fraudster. The account isn't hijacked, the person is. Session behavior is often the only place that pressure shows up. Here's the point that gets missed. These signals are only useful in the moment. Beneficiary risk you look up tomorrow is a post-mortem. Device intelligence you reconstruct next week is an audit note. To change the outcome, the signal has to arrive while you can still hold the payment. That's the whole discipline of real-time fraud. Gather at the moment of payment or don't bother gathering at all. The third thing, and this is where most of the value actually lands, is a graduated response. Here's the trap teams fall into. They think real-time fraud is a yes or no gate. Clear it or block it. And the moment you frame it that way, you're stuck between two bad options. Block too much and you infuriate good customers and drown your team in false positives. Block too little and the fraud walks straight through. On instant rails, that tension gets sharper because you have no time to soften either mistake. The answer is to stop treating every payment the same. Grade the response to the risk. Low risk clears. This is the vast majority of payments. A known customer, a known device, a known payee, an amount that fits their pattern. There is no reason to add friction to that payment and every reason not to. It clears instantly. The customer never feels a thing. That's the point. Medium risk earns a step up. Something's a little off. A larger amount than usual, a new payee, a device that's familiar but not certain. You don't block it. You ask for one more proof. A step-up authentication check, a confirmation, a second factor. Just enough friction to stop an imposter, light enough that a real customer barely notices. Most legitimate payments survive a step-up. Most fraudulent ones don't. High risk holds for a human. This is the payment that lights up across the board. New device, new beneficiary, off hours, way outside the baseline, maybe a beneficiary that's already flagged and shared data. You don't let a machine wave that through and you don't let a machine kill it either. You hold it and you put it in front of a person who owns the decision. The system does the work of surfacing it in time with the evidence attached. The human makes the call. That last point matters more than any of the technology. The goal here is not to have software approving and denying payments on its own. The goal is to have software fast enough to catch the risky payment inside the settlement window and disciplined enough to hand the hard ones to a human with everything they need to decide. Speed from the machine, judgment from the person. You keep both. And notice what the graduated response buys you. Speed and safety stop being a trade-off. The safe payments move at full speed because you're not slowing them down to catch the rare bad one. The risky payments get the scrutiny they deserve because you're not spending that scrutiny on everyone. Both survive. So put it together, because none of these three works alone. The baseline gives you normal, the moment of payment signals give you now. Score one against the other and you get a risk read you can trust. Then the graduated response turns that read into an action fast enough to matter. Clear it, step it up, or hold it for a person. Without the baseline, your signals have nothing to compare against. Without the signals, your baseline is a museum piece. Without the graduated response, Even a perfect score just gives you a faster way to block good customers or wave through bad payments. The three are one system. That's the framework. And all of it has to happen inside the settlement window. Sub-second. Because on these rails, a decision that arrives after settlement isn't a decision. It's a record of what you didn't stop. If you're moving on to instant rails, take these three back to your team and ask one honest question of each. Do we know normal for every customer before the payment? Are we gathering the signals live or after? And when a payment is risky, does a person get to decide in time with the evidence in front of them? I'm building Flux Force around exactly this. Aiden Flux is our live fraud detection agent, scoring payments in real time and holding the risky ones for a human to decide. If your team is working through this shift and you've hit a wall, tell me where it broke first. That tells me more than any spec. Link in the description. I'll see you in the next one.